It's 2008. You're a social media manager or maybe a marketer of one, and you have to do all the social media. Well, lucky for you, there's really three top platforms: Facebook, MySpace, and Blogger. If you want to know how young I am, I have no clue what Blogger even is. MySpace, though, I was at the tail end of it, or at least my siblings, my brothers, were on it. But you only had three platforms to be on. There's a litany of others, so maybe you could argue there was so many more to be on, but there was these top platforms that, in my honest opinion, all had the same skill set to succeed on. While MySpace might be the outlier, you had to customize your profile and it was very person to person, so I'm not even sure how social media or how companies would have used it. But maybe excluding that one, for both Facebook and Blogger and many of the other top sites at that time, social media sites, the skill set was writing or maybe photo. You just had one skill set you needed. You needed someone who was a good writer, whether that was someone with a background in journalism or someone who just wrote on the digital web and they were great at it. You really only needed that one skill set. I don't think I need to convince you that today in 2024, it's light years different. There's so many more platforms now that you need to be on and you need to be skilled at, that really it's unlikely that any one person or even a small team can do. Which is why today I'm going to be talking about how to master social. And I think you already know my answer. It's by focusing on one channel. Start the intro. Welcome to Season 3 of On Marketing, a show where we explore what marketing is, like really is. I won't tell you what to think. I'll help you improve how you think about marketing. It's June 25th, 2024. I'm Jordan Ogren, a marketing strategist by day and a podcast host by night. Ready to get into the episode? Before we do, please subscribe to my weekly newsletter to get new episodes, extra insights, and the occasional photo of my cat. It's fittingly called Newsletter on Marketing. The link to join is in the first line of the show notes. And if you join, stick around for the outro to hear a special offer, a special deal I have for you if you sign up and can show me proof. And finally, all opinions shared in this podcast are the individual views of the hosts and guests, not those of their employers or associated organizations. This content is intended for informational purposes only and should not be considered professional marketing guidance. Listeners act on the information provided at their own risk. I hate that I have to do that. Thank you for being here. Rather than get super deep in that evolution from 2008 to today, I think you can do some research or just ask ChatGPT. It's clear and obvious, as mentioned earlier, that it is a different social media landscape today than it was back then. There's Facebook, X, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Clubhouse. There's probably a million others that I don't even know of, and some of them are audio only, some are focused on video, some still retain that writing forefront, whether that's LinkedIn or X, but really you can do all mediums on those platforms. So really you can almost see a shift from a pure writing skill set to now needing more of a multimedia skill set, which again, probably to you is obvious, but I think it's not obvious to those who task marketers to do social media and they want them to be on more than one platform. It's just not possible, and it leads to a lot of bad content and essentially most companies eventually stopping because it's just like, this isn't working for us. So today's podcast, as I started in the intro, is all about how do we do social media in 2024 and beyond, and how do we do it in a way that it brings us ROI, some return on investment, rather than just shooting in the dark or hoping that our socials are working for us. All of that makes a clear insight that I've had and that I had with other podcast guests that I've spoke with, that one skill set will no longer succeed on social media. As a social media manager, you can't just have one skill set. You need to have a plethora of skill set, or as I'm proposing, you need to have a plethora of people dominating each of these channels. You have someone who understands video and who's good at it that's running the TikTok or at least speaking into it. You have somebody who is really great with photography who can create you a vibe on Instagram. But asking one person to do both of those is really just setting them up for failure, even if they are a social media marketer. So you hired them for it. it's still 40 hours, 45 hours is not enough. And most people just don't have the generalist approach that is needed based on the fact that we just touched on that all of these platforms demand different skill sets. My solution to this, my proposition for you, is to adapt a strategy called the Normandy beachhead strategy. It came from a book, Crossing the Chasm, by somebody more, Gregory, Jeffrey, somebody more. And they wrote about how there's these early innovators or early adopters to products, but then there's this point at which you need to cross the chasm from a small subset of early adopters to the main audience, the mainstream of all people. And his argument is that you'll never get there, the main set of the audience, if you don't pick a segment, or in his idea, a Normandy beachhead to first win. So I'm going to take you in a time machine to World War II. I'm barely old enough to know about this myself, but I've done enough research. World War II, there's a critical point. You might know it as D-Day, but they had to fight to take back Europe, France, all of that, but they couldn't do that right away. They couldn't dominate all social media channels right away. They had to pick a beachhead, and Normandy was that beach. If we can win Normandy, we can win the next battle, and then the next, and eventually we can take back France. We can take back the world from the Nazis. So that then is applied to startups to focus on one subset of audiences. I now want to challenge you to use that same strategy to pick one social media, your beachhead, your Normandy beachhead, one social media channel, and dominate it. Try your hardest to understand it, to become great at it, and win on it. Because until you win on one social media, there's no reason to branch off to all these other ones. Now, a counterpoint to this is that I think you still should have a social media account on all platforms. So let's say you run Jordan Subs. I think if Facebook isn't your platform of choice, you should still have a Facebook account. I think you should have your hours and any important information, links to the website, but you shouldn't be creating unique content for it. Let's say you chose LinkedIn for some reason, Instagram. Let's say you chose Instagram for your sub business. You can take cool pictures of your subs, people eating them. You can repost your photos on Facebook and just use a short caption or the same caption you did on Instagram. But Instagram should be where you're innovating, where you're experimenting, and where you're putting over 80% of your time and effort on social, and less than 20 can be used to redistribute the content elsewhere, wherever you need to be for your audience. Now, how do you pick which platform to be on? That's its own podcast, its own article on how to choose the right social media. But I think there's 3 simple guiding principles to kind of help you understand which platform to be on. The obvious one is, where's your customer? If your customer isn't on a platform, why are you on it? Second, certain industries will overvalue. If you're in B2B, if you're doing more of that heavy, again, business to business sales, LinkedIn starts to become an obvious contender for that social platform for you. And then finally, psychographics, or to take a step further, how your audience is hiring platforms for it. So maybe you find through psychographics that your audience really likes to use social media after work, to decompress, to get away from work. So don't drop a 55-page report on the state of marketing to them. Make a funny video of, this is how you know you're a marketer when, because you're realizing, hey, that's the content they want, which then reverse engineers to what platform could we go on? Maybe Facebook, maybe YouTube Shorts, maybe TikTok for that type of video content. Finally, another idea of how to choose your platform is to use your content strengths. There's 3 types of content. There's video, there's audio, and there's a written word. If you can think of a 4th, email it to me, because there really isn't any other way. A GIF would be a video. There's no other content medium than those 3. So look at your team, whether it's your marketing department, your founders, your executive team. Look at them and start to identify, what are their strengths? Are they really good on video? Can they tell a compelling story? Get them on video. Get them on audio if they can tell great stories, but maybe they don't want to be on camera. Maybe they're great writers. Maybe you have somebody who just pumps out articles every week, every month, and just leverage them, use them. There's a lot of platforms that then prioritize the type of content that you have a strength in. And finally, thinking like a real estate mogul, real estater, I'm not sure if that's a title, but thinking like someone who's in real estate, there is always property that is undervalued. That if you bought it and hold on to it, it will be worth so much. A clear example of this is anybody who jumped onto YouTube or Google creating content for SEO early on. They were entrenched and they won so much of the market share of search and content views that if you came on 10 years later, you're out of luck. But the issue is there was probably 5 other YouTubes, Vimeo, all of these other options that somebody bought, invested their time and energy into, and they didn't become anything. So that's a real critical thought as well, is what property is the best to buy. I can definitely tell you which property is the worst to buy, and that is Facebook. Facebook is the worst place to begin building on because your organic reach, I'm just going to say it's under 1%. It's ridiculous. So if you have 100 followers, one of them might see your post. It's just unsustainable to build upon. So unless everything is pointing you towards Facebook, you might think maybe LinkedIn, maybe TikTok, because some of these channels are undervalued in the sense that the platform, the social media gods of that platform are giving a disproportionate amount of reach for your post for free. Facebook's on the opposite end of it. They pulled back on so much that the only way to win on Facebook is to pay to play. That's not true on TikTok. That's not true on some of these newer platforms. You have to find that property that is undervalued, that aligns with your strengths, content strengths, where your audience is, all of those things I talked about. That is the best platform. So most times it won't be as beautifully laid out as that, but using those as guide rails to kind of get to a place to say this is likely the social media platform we should invest in. And that leads into how do you dominate then once you choose it. So you now have your platform, Instagram, LinkedIn, we're going to do it. First step, don't start posting. Study the greats. There's people on that platform that are kicking ass. Take notes. Comment on their posts. See what they're doing. How do they write their posts? How do they do their videos? How do they structure their photos? All of these things can feed into how you will eventually create content on it. But the first error that I see many people make when they start on social is just jumping in, just posting right away and getting off the platform after you post. Spend 15, 30 minutes every day engaging, consuming content so you know what does well, what doesn't do well, and kind of finding where you then want to be for your content. So step 1, spend a lot of time engaging, studying those who are succeeding on the platform you chose. The next thing to do is focus on building individuals before the company or along with the company. Any platform aside from Facebook, because Facebook is kind of like your personal pages, you could create a company or an individual that is a company but is an individual. So this strategy doesn't really work on Facebook, but every other platform, especially LinkedIn, you need to be building the individual brands along with the company brand. Look at any successful B2B SaaS or other company that isn't maybe B2C, a Wendy's, any of those who are already at a point that just is ridiculous and they have a voice and they have a brand. You see them building their individuals. You see them building the CEO, the CMO, which then drags with it the company brand. So you build both together. So focus first on the individual, then the company. I'll go a little bit deeper on this at the very end when I dive into a few comments on a recent LinkedIn post I made about this that you, listeners, hopefully you, gave to me. So I play off that, I answer some questions, I discuss some of the things, and that is one of them. Should we be building the company brand or should we just focus on individuals? So stick around for the final segment where I go a bit deeper on that. You're dominating it, you're doing well. How do you know to branch off? When is the beachhead captured? Is maybe a way to put it. That's a hard question. But I do have a few proxies, signals that show that, hey, it's time to do more platforms, invest more time and energy into different platforms. First, you are driving significant pipeline through social media. People are either filling out intake, your contact form, and saying, I found you through LinkedIn, through social media, or on calls, or just kickoff meetings. You're hearing, loved your newsletter, loved your Facebook content, loved your Instagram stories. Those are key proxies that if nobody's bringing it up, it probably isn't assisting the sales process. So if that's happening, stay with me because you may need to change. The second thing is if you have a very diverse audience segments, so you have one that's a very professional person and one is the children of them, you're likely going to be split. You're going to be torn to say we could go on LinkedIn or we could be on TikTok, but how do we do both of those? And the argument could be is that a lot of CEOs are on TikTok, just scrolling, so fair. But my challenge would be the same thing as I've been saying all day. Focus on one of those audience segments. Literally take the beachhead strategy to its purest form and just dominate one of those. Who do we really want to be known by? Who do we want to influence? And start with them. So I think that is really important, that if you have diverse audience segments, you could think maybe we should be on 2 platforms, but I promise you dominating one of those platforms for one of your audience segments will allow you to get the momentum to then branch off to different audience segments and thus different platforms. And finally, your platform of choice is not working. So building off that first point, if you're not getting pipeline, if revenue is not being impacted in the slightest by your social media, sorry to say it, but why the hell are you doing it? So that is a key signal, a key proxy that if we've been at it for 6 months, a year, and we're not getting anything, no traction, no momentum, nobody's bringing it up, we're just posting into a void, change your platform. Stop insanity, doing the same thing. Stop, change. Now, the key point of that is, I didn't say after 3 months, even 6 months is probably too low. I had a longer time frame. I personally think it's probably 1 to 2 years. Most times people fail on social. Yes, resource allocation, which is the point of this podcast, but also just this fact of, I have no patience. It's not working in 2 weeks. I need to find a new platform. No. If you look at anybody who's succeeding on social media, individual or company, they've been at it for a long time. There are no overnight successes on social or in life. That is key to know. How do we know when to branch out? Most likely the answer is don't. But there are certain times where, hey, we're driving a lot of revenue through LinkedIn, through Instagram, through Facebook. I think we're ready to branch out to a new one and see if our audience is there. And we could start to influence revenue, influence a pipeline in a similar way. And then that shows, hey, we have 2 platforms that are actually helping us grow, which, if you haven't listened to this podcast, that's kind of the point of marketing. Help the business grow. If not, we could just hire cheerleaders. Sorry, rant over. And finally, a bonus. Can you answer this question? Who needs to know you? A key part of social is that we think everybody needs to know us. I need to be on Facebook. I need my mom to know what we do. I heard on a podcast almost 4 years ago or so that this CMO was talking. He said, my mom doesn't need to know what we do. The people that buy our product, which is a Sims, I think this person sold to government agencies or large contracts. So it was like, we don't need everybody to know about us. If you're in that industry, I'm just going to guess social media isn't the best way to get known by those people. So that then brings a question, which nobody's asking. So don't tell anybody I'm telling you this, but do we even need to be on social media? I've never heard that question. However many times I've heard, what platform do we need to be on? How do I choose the right platform? Nobody takes a step even further back to say, does our business, our unique business and the unique customer we serve, do we need to get known by them through social? Or are there other more impactful ways to be known by the people we need to be known by? And likely posted on Facebook every day isn't the way to get there. So if you answered the general audience or anybody, well, then your business is probably not too great. But then maybe Facebook, maybe some of these platforms do have high potential because you want to be known by everybody. You sell underwear. Even then, though, it's like you either sell women's underwear, men underwear. Like, you don't need to be known by everybody. I guess that's also point of this. Part of this is that define who needs to know you and then ask, how can we get known by them? Is social media part of it? And sometimes you might just end up with social isn't for us. We're going to build our home, our hub, as I mentioned earlier. We're going to post our hours, very infrequent updates, but 80% of our time that would go to social media is going to direct mail. It is going to other ways of getting known by those people we need to get known by. I won't keep rambling on with that because it's kind of obvious, but until we ask that question, we're going to just be trying to get known by everybody. And finally, to wrap up, I'm going to discuss some of the comments on my recent LinkedIn post that talked about this exact subject, that I think to master social, you need to focus on one platform. But rather than pull it up on the screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, I do apologize. I have to figure out the sharing, so I'm just going to speak to it. So audio listeners, you get off on the hook on this one, but do please check out the YouTube to see my beautiful mug. Pulling up that LinkedIn post right now. So my whole post was just about that most companies have no clue what they're doing on social media. First comment was from Aaron Harkeska. Terrible with last names and first. He said, my theory is this: most companies either don't know the true potential of socials or they just don't know how to make it work for them. Otherwise, they'd invest more into crafting a compelling presence instead of using social for whatever they're currently doing. I agreed with him because obviously if you see the potential and value in something, you do it. So my challenge then is kind of how do we help them understand the potential of it working, if that's the reason that they suck at it, is they just don't know the potential or don't know how to make it work for them. Aaron had some thoughts around experimenting. That could be a good start, or just trying new things, because then when you stumble upon something that works, you do more of it. So his emphasis would be on just do it, just try. I can't go against that, but I do think that this whole piece of they don't know how to make it work for them is because they're probably spread too thin, or they don't know which channel to focus on, which is important to understand where your audience is, your content strengths, all of that. The next comment was by Jacob Statler, recent guest on this season actually, or I should say future guest. He talked about how do you recommend getting internal buy-in for an organic social program for a company that's never tried it. So let's just imagine you're a company, you've never tried social media before. How do you get the buy-in that we should do it? Well, first of all, doing the research and having the conversations to decide a platform would do a good job of then being able to bring to a superior or to the CEO to say, hey, our audience is here. They're on this platform. I think we should be on there, and here's ways that we can be on there, leveraging our strengths, leveraging who we are, and also maybe allocating some time that we're on YouTube or any of these other platforms that isn't driving growth, or that's not where our audience is, then we can allocate that here. So I think the key would be is doing the research, figuring out what platform should we invest in, where our audience, what are they trying to do after work or during work, or what do they use content for? When you get crystal clear on that, I think it becomes a little bit easier to get buy-in. But honestly, I'm going to give a little bit of a contrarian answer to Jacob, is leave the company. If your company doesn't see value or see that social is important, you're going to be fighting really hard to do that. It's same with a company doesn't see content as valuable. You sell them on, you get them to do content, but the content sucks because it's really sales heavy or something that just doesn't resonate. The same thing is with social. You could convince them to get on it, but if they don't understand what the audience is using it for, the jobs that they're hiring it for, you're just going to be more noise on the social platform. So I think understanding your audience, where they're at, is key to getting the buy-in, but just maybe if there isn't already some hesitancy, if there already is some hesitancy to be on social in 2024, I'd find the nearest door. Next, we have an amazing comment from Trish Siddell, a recent season 2 podcast guest and also somebody who's on the future season of Friends of the Show, which I don't know if I talked much about, but that's really exciting with both her and Tom Winter. She had a comment that says, I think there's a huge debate right now on if the corporate page is dead. For me, I'd rather invest my time in building the brands of the founders and leadership over a dying corporate brand, especially in B2B. We'll love your thoughts on this. As I said to Trish in my comments, I said I side with you, but really, why wouldn't I? You're the big sister of marketing. You're the marketing big sister, so you have the answers. But I think there is a little bit more that I wanted to dissect on this point, or just to bring it up, as I talked about earlier in this podcast, that I would almost always recommend that you build the people. Build the brands of your individuals. If you think of ESPN, any of these news or larger organizations, you realize you don't actually like the organization that much. You like the way that Stephen A brings us sports. You like that there's this woman who does announcing on this sport or that sport. It's rarely because I'm a diehard ESPN fan. I think that was a way of the past. NASCAR comes to mind of people who are diehard NASCAR fans, but think about where NASCAR is today. They don't have those strong personalities. They always did. Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson. I think that sounds like a sub, Jimmy Johns. But they just never caught on to the fact that we need to have personalities. WWE has dominated in this category. And it's a reason why they brought Jake Paul on. They realize he has an incredible brand. He'll bring some of his followers to us. Sure, some of our followers will go to him and we may eventually split. That is the biggest argument I hear for this is, why would I build the brand of my people if they're just going to leave? And I just want to tell you, your thinking right there is the issue. Why would I let my employees do X, Y, and Z? I mean, you can take that to its extent and it becomes really ugly if you ask me. It's a win-win. You build the brands of your individuals, they gain trust and credibility with your audience, and then your audience does business with you. Those people will eventually go on. They're not slaves. That's okay. They will go to other companies and they have helped your brand elevate, rise. What do they say? A high tide raises all the boats. It's a very simple concept that Trish gets, I get, and many others get, that if you want to build the corporate brand, build the people. We don't do business with businesses. We do business with humans. Love it, Trish. Please preach louder. Maybe we can talk about this on a future episode together because I think your ideas and your insights on this are refined. So I'm on board with you, girl. Next, Carson Hoffman, accurate meme. I agree. It was a really good meme. I'd highly suggest going on my LinkedIn and checking it out. Real nice meme. I told Carson that's actually one of my KPIs for my content. If someone comments nice meme or nice accurate meme, I get a KPI uptick. So thank you, Carson, for helping me hit my KPI goal for that one. Katie Severance talked about how that she sees so many company pages that are basically dead. I asked her what would she say to those. She hasn't responded yet, so I'll answer my own question. Egotistical. I think that's okay. As I said earlier, maybe it shouldn't be dead in the sense that it's outdated information, hasn't posted for 5 years, but it should be stale. It should be static in the sense that the one channel you're investing in, that's the only active channel. That's where all your resources and time is going on. So maybe the other channels do feel dead. So I think that's okay. And finally, we had a comment from this Gul Yüksel. I'm not even I think she has her name in her native language, but she talked about just how multiple channels drain energy fast. That is pretty much the crux of this, that if you want to do social well and not lose your sanity, you need to just focus on one channel for a company and dominate it. That is the end of this episode. That's all I have for you today. Appreciate you for making it this far. Thank you for listening. As you just heard, I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your insights on these topics. So follow me on LinkedIn, Jordan William Ogren might be my handle. Follow me on LinkedIn, comment when I post stuff because you will make the podcast. Maybe you'll eventually come on and talk to me about those topics because I don't have all the answers. I just talk to people who do have some great answers and I share those with you. Thank you for making it this far because few do. So to repay you for the time you spent listening to me, my guest, I have an offer. I have a deal for you. If you click the first line in the show notes and sign up for just let me know whether LinkedIn DMs or email jordano@hey.com, I will give you 60 minutes of free marketing help, whether that be guidance on your messaging, positioning, or your content strategy, or even helping you write a landing page for a new product or service you have coming. Sign up for it. Let me know you did. In 60 minutes, I am all yours. That sounded a lot better when I wrote it, but anyways, you get the gist. I really appreciate you being on this journey with me to uncover what truly is marketing and how do we apply it today. I hope to see you back here next week for a new episode, and stay thinking differently.